All right, welcome to Greg's Reel Revival. Tonight, we're going to be working on kind of a cool little reel. I saw this on Facebook Marketplace, had not seen one before, thought it was pretty cool, so I picked it up. It's a Browning, and I'm not sure if you can see that there, but it's called a Browning Midas Black Bass Special. Thought that was pretty cool. The model number is MBB10HA. It's got 10 bearings, it's got a 6.3 to 3 drag ratio, and as you can see, pretty smooth little reel here. Okay, it does have the dual braking system, which is kind of cool. We'll look at that real quick, but let's start over on this side and start taking these pieces off. I try to, when I see reels that I haven't seen videos done on, I like to try to kind of pick those up and do videos on them, just in case somebody out there has them and is wanting to do reel service on them themselves, or they just want to see something kind of new and different. Everything else, we're going to take these pieces off and we're going to lay them down in the order that we took them off, so we'll know how to put them back together later on. Handle, there's a little tension washer that goes between the handle and the star drag. Star drag here. It's got some kind of a clicker on it. I can't tell if it's built in or if it's a separate piece under here, but we'll find out here in just a second. Alright, so that is a separate piece. See that clicker right there? There, it looks like there is a washer here that I'm trying to get off. Not sure why it's not wanting to come off, but we'll just keep working it slowly and we'll get it off here in just a second. Just a regular little nut there. This is your little clicker. We're going to lay that down just how it comes off there. Actually, I think there's another washer in there, but let's see if we can get them both off here. Alright, there we go. There is another washer just like the one we just got off. Take those pliers and just kind of work that off there and set it down. Then we have the clicker that should just slide off also. Alright, apparently things don't want to come off this. There we go, shaft is easy. Alright, there's a little raised area right there and that points up, so we'll remember that. Alright, so let's see what we have in the spool tension cap here. There might be a little spacer there. There's a bearing there. There's also a little retention clip here. We're going to get that out real quickly. Now let's see if I can talk that bearing from falling out. All right, bearing fell out. That bearing's going to go over here into some Coleman fuel actually, and we'll let that soak for a little while, and then we will get some oil on it and get it put back in there. All right, let's take this side of the reel off. To get this off, when I first had it, I wasn't really sure what to do, but this little Browning symbol here, you push in on that. I think, let me see, it goes up. Okay, so you push that in and lift it up. You see it's got the magnetic portion right there, and that's controlled by this gold knob here. And right here is what controls you can see those little fingers right there. Those are similar to like a little Shimano reel. Inside here, hopefully you can see there's these 3 little gold bands, and they're kind of stair-stepped. The very inside one is close to the center of the reel. The middle one's a little bit wider out, and that last one's the widest. When you move this here, you are either off, or you have the first setting, which is just this mild amount of cast control, the middle one, and the heaviest there. That, when you mess with that, that causes that gold piece to go in and out. So when it's as far out as possible, these fingers here are right against it, and they create a lot of friction. When you click it out a little bit, let's see here. They don't engage until they get way out here, so there's not as much friction on them. So I thought that was kind of interesting. You'll see there's another bearing in there, so we're going to take that out. We're just going to set that spool aside. There's a bearing on there that I'm going to take off also. Just kind of cool looking at the different systems and kind of how they work. They're all kind of similar, but not exact. All right. That for that bearing there, see if that'll fall out for us. Perfect, right there. All right, so we'll just wipe that out. That's pretty darn clean inside there. All right. Next thing we're going to do, this is our spool bearing removal tool. We're just going to take this, set it over here, and we should be able to take this. Actually, I'm going to have to use the other side of it. And we'll get that lined up, and that will push all right. There's a fat side and a skinny side. This is the skinny side, so we want to push from here out that way. not seem to want to be cooperating right now. Should be able to push that out. Now, worn my tool out over there, so I may have to hold on that, and I should be able to get some, soak that in the Coleman fuel and let that dry. So that's what we'll do on that, and then I'm just going to have to go buy me a new bearing removal tool. All right. That wasn't kind of what I expected. All right, let's take the side case off and see what's inside this reel here. I expect this reel is probably just like some of the Johnny Morris carbon light reels. I don't know that for sure, but companies like Bass Pro that have a lot of reels that they make, they will make one reel and then they'll just have different colored covers or things like that that make it just a little bit different. All right, got those two out there. There is one inside here also that we have to take out. All right, there's our inside one. Now let's see what we got in here. All right, it's coming off really easy. All right, there it is. Looks like many other bait casting reels. Right in here we have our little sleeve that goes over there. So get that down. And then right inside here is your anti-reverse clutch bearing. You don't have to do anything with that except just kind of clean it off a little bit. I'll take a few Q-tips and just run them around, see how dirty that is. Something you do not want to put grease in. They get real greasy, they tend not to work, and you might end up not having an anti-reverse. If that happens, just remember that, okay? And take some Q-tips and just kind of work those little bearings in there. So we should be good to go on that side plate there. Now let's look at what we have here. First of all, let's take off these pinion yoke springs. Then we're going to take off this on top of the main gear. There is a little flat washer there. And I'm just going to pull this main gear straight off here. It's got multiple pieces to it, so let's look at those. First thing we have, this is the top plate to our drag stack. Here's our little drag washer right here. We're going to see it. There we go. Got that out. Main gear. Underneath the main gear, there is another little drag washer. And then on the very bottom, this is our click ratchet. And what else comes off right here will be our pinion gear and our pinion gear yoke. And that's about all we have. We are going to go ahead and take off this shaft right there. Just a couple of screws for that. And right here. And then that top shaft will come right on out. You'll see that piece of the shaft is right under there, so we'll have to rotate that just a little bit. There we go. So there's that underneath there. And as you can see, there's a bearing under there also. All right. So that's all we've got. Okay, I am going to clean the line guide, but I'm going to do that off camera. There's a video on my channel called How to Service Your Line Guide System. You can look at that if you would like. It's a pretty simple system. It's real similar in most every reel. So there's that. I'm going to set that down. And get all this cleaned up, and we'll come back and get it put back together. All right, welcome back. We have got everything cleaned up here, and we're just going to put this back together. All right. I think first thing we're going to do is let's put the bearings back in these side plates here. Okay. Bearings have been soaked in Coleman fuel. You can use that. You can use acetone, whatever you like. Okay, first thing, those magnets will tend to catch onto that, not a big deal, pull it off there. Push that in. There's a little groove right inside there. That's what this little clip goes in. Try to kind of maybe put the center part of it down, and then I'll use my pick just to kind of work each side in. Don't take your thumb off there until that's all the way set down in there. Alright, maybe you can see that is set all the way down in there, so we're good on that side. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to put this one on. Again, they've been soaked in Coleman fuel. You can also use acetone. And then I've been using this TSI 321 from Smooth Drag as my bearing oil because it's very, very light. And I don't like a heavy oil on my bearings. Okay, so we put that in there. Same thing. We're gonna start that clip in there. And then alright, so you see all the sides are in there. That's what, nope, scared me to death, sorry. So it just popped out, it wasn't quite in there. I got lucky it didn't pop across the room. Alright. That side's in. Let's see if we can get this side in now. There we go. All right. It is down in there now. Now we're going to put this spool tensioner cap on. Just real lightly. I say we're going to. Alright. There we go, finally. Alright, so just put that on there. Now, what are we going to do? Let's put this shaft back on here. Okay, I've got some oil in there for the inside of this, just where that goes around and around. I'm going to put just a tiny bit of grease. It's going to go right there. And if you remember, that top piece there goes behind that little silver piece. So we'll get that in there first, I think. There we go. All right. A little bit longer screw went in the top here. shorter screw went down here in the bottom. You run into that where you can't really get a hold of that screw. Just get a little bit of grease on there, and that will help you hopefully hold that screw on the end of your screwdriver. So let's see. All right, that looks like it might work for us. All right. All right. All that there. We will put just a tiny bit of grease on there, not a whole lot. Doesn't really necessarily need any because those are plastic gears, but it's not going to hurt to put a little bit on there. You don't need a whole lot because those two are going to share grease. So what one has, the other one will get before too long. All righty. Keep stuff straight here. Let's see what we want to put on first. Let's put on our pinion gear and our pinion gear yoke. That's going to go over those two posts right there. You'll notice I do not have grease on that. Why is that? Because when, excuse me, I'm going to put grease on this and the pinion gear are going to spin. They're going to mesh together and they're going to share grease also. Okay, first thing that goes down, we have this, our click washer. You see it's kind of squared off there. It just needs to go all the way down on that shaft. Remember, we have our next little washer here. These are Teflon. I don't think they really actually need drag washer grease, but we're going to put just a little bit on there. That down. All right, real quick, we're going to build our main gear before we put it on, okay? It's a whole lot of that, way too much. All right, that goes right in the middle of that. We have this little metal plate. It goes on top right there. Now I'm going to take this, find my paintbrush, and we're going to paint just a little bit of grease in these grooves. You don't need much. Like I said, it's going to share grease with the pinion gear. And when they mesh together, they're just going to squeeze a little bit of this grease out. Like I said, you don't need to put big globs of it on. All right. Take this. Put that right down on there. My pinion gear fell. Pick that back up and slide that out. And we'll just make sure that those two mesh together. So there you go. And you'll see that pinion gear's already got grease on it because they slide together right there with each other. All right, grab me up a paper towel real quick. Making pretty good progress here. So I was not able to get that out of there, so I just flushed that out with some common fuel, let it dry, and then put some of that that 321 oil on it. Now, while we're thinking about it, let's go ahead and get this side finished up here, okay? This is the washer. That goes right back on top of here. And then we have this collar that goes on there. Now we're going to put this on. Get your pinion yoke springs. One goes right there. One goes right there. All right, so we're just gonna line this up. Set it right back down on there, and it lined up really, really nicely. All right. So we have the top screw right here. I'm holding the side case on all around. I'm holding it on tight so I can screw that one all the way in. Here's our other one that goes on this side here. I don't like the way that's lined up. Thought it was lined up square and it wasn't, so let's just take a look at it here. I see what it is. This little piece for the thumb bar isn't quite in all the way, so it's holding that little back part of it out. That's exactly what it is. So, and that's one of the things with real servicing and real repair. You just kind of take your time. None of this is really difficult to do, but you also don't want to force anything either. Okay, it is in there now. So let's see if we can get that to line up a little bit better. All right, there we go. So that's all that was just that little bar was not all the way in, so it was pushing that side case out a little bit. All right, if you remember, we have one screw that goes inside here, right up there at the top. All right, so we're good to go there. All right. Where's that? All right, see if we can remember how to get this. We had, this is the little clicker. We will put a tiny bit of grease right down here. We're moving parts of it. That down on there. Next thing, these are actually our tension washers. Okay. So they're curved a little bit. I want the curve on the bottom one, I want the curve going down. There we go. And the curve on the top one, I want the curve pointing up. All right. Worked for getting them off, did not work for getting them on. All right, folks, this is there we go. All right. Patience pays off. Now we're going to put the star adjuster back on there. Put a tiny bit of grease inside here too. Not a whole lot. And when we get that started on there, once I get it down on there a little bit, you'll hear it start clicking. If you can hear that, but it's starting to click right now. All right, so real quick, we're just going to put that handle on there. Use that as kind of some leverage and crank that on down. Next thing we need to do, and I did not clean this off, this is our tension washer that goes between the star drag and the handle. So just put that right there. Put the handle back on. Grab our handle nut. All right, to get this to line up, normally if you get one of the points of that nut faced at that hole, it should line up, and we kind of got that right there, so let's see. Looks like I'm gonna have to turn it just a tad bit more. Almost. Well, I'm telling you, I'm close. All right. Put that handle nut in there. All right, so clean the line guide system there. Put a few drops of oil there. Some on that side too. Kind of let that spin a little bit. All right, now let's get the spool put in there, and then we'll get this thing finished up. First thing we're going to do, this is the part of the spool that goes through into the tension knob right there. So we're just going to put a little bit of light oil on that. Another little drop or so right here. That is going to go into that side plate bearing right there. Then we'll put that right there. Slide that right back down. So there you go, folks. That is your Browning Midas Black Bass spinning reel MBB 10HA. It's got the dual action dual action braking systems, and it's made by Bass Pro. If y'all have any questions about this reel, holler at me and let me know. If you want your reel serviced, holler at me at Greg's Reel Revival at gmail.com. Greg's Reel Revival at gmail.com, and I can get you set up. I just got done fixing a Shimano Stratic 2000 FG that had a broken main gear on it. Got that taken apart, got it put back together, and it is good to go. So I'm glad to get y'all hooked up. So send them to me. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys. We're at 150 members right now, it's a good start. Still got a long ways to go, but I appreciate y'all hanging in there with me. If you have any questions, comments, put them down there so you can see. Thumb bar's working well. Cut the drag a little bit. Yeah, it's got some good drag on it. So, yeah, a little bit more. There we go. All right. So there you go, folks. Browning Midas Black Bass, Bass Pro Shops. Thank y'all for watching, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.